North of the United Mexican States, across the national border, lies El Dorado, the land of gold. This is a tale that some choose to believe, while others have no choice but to believe. They walk through dust storms into the red sunrise, tracing a route without a road. They willingly traverse the perilous desert of rocks and cacti, making the sign of the cross and dragging their exhausted feet onward. The Border Patrol of the United States of America awaits them, but there are only so many eyes that can watch. The border is simply too vast. Mexico and America share a boundary that runs nearly 2,000 miles long, the world's largest smuggling zone. Hundreds of thousands of people cross the border illegally every year, using every means imaginable. Not all of them survive the trip. Border Patrol helicopters drive migrants around like flocks of sheep, a tactic called dusting that human rights organizations decry as inhumane. A low-flying helicopter can threaten and scatter a group of travelers on foot, pushing them back toward Mexico. Escaping the helicopter often means separating from your companions, leaving them behind to brave the withering desert conditions alone. The fate of any lost in the arid wastes is indisputable. Still, people continue to attempt to cross the border, desperate to escape a cycle of poverty without an exit. There's no choice but to make the journey to the empire of capitalism that shines like the sun: America. Lucia was born in a city in northwest Mexico near the Pacific, and she would have done it too. She wanted to try crossing into America. It was another life she could have led in some fantasy parallel world. But she didn't. She left the country, but not to the north. In 1996, Lucia Sepulveda was 17 years old, a mestizo, part Indio, part Spanish, with shiny black hair and even darker eyes, large and black like obsidian. Her hometown of Culiacán, capital city of the state of Sinaloa, probably looked like an utterly ordinary place to tourists who didn't know better. Not that they ever came to Culiacán. In truth, however, the city was ruled by forces outside the law, violence and fear. Streets weren't littered with dead bodies, but the city was a war zone all the same. The conflict was the sort that no UN peacekeeping force would solve: the drug war. The cartel ruled the city, and its members, the narcos, were everywhere, always watching. They weren't street-level pushers dealing drugs in furtive back alleys. They drove around in Lamborghinis and Ferraris. They carried assault rifles and resorted to terrorist acts if necessary. The Mexican cartels had networks that extended beyond national borders. It was an international business. Their main export was polvo de oro, golden dust, cocaine. The biggest market was across the border in America, with Canada, the EU, and Australia serving to bolster their astronomical profits. No one ever worried about paying taxes on this kind of product. Asia, Japan, the Philippines, and especially Indonesia was seen as a growth market. There, cocaine took a backseat to sales of crystal meth. The cartels called it hielo, or ice. The cartels owned coca farms in places like Colombia and Peru, where they oversaw cultivation, cocaine production, transport, and distribution all by themselves. They bought off politicians, officials, prosecutors, and police officers, absorbing them into the drug business. New ways to launder money were constantly being churned out. Methodical kidnapping, torture, and murder were part of the cartel's business, and an army of narcos supported the vast criminal enterprise. There was no headquarters office building with half-mirror windows reflecting the sky, nor were there CEOs in boardroom meetings. Yet, the cartels still possessed enough capital to influence world finance. No one crossed them. Freedom of speech was meaningless. Openly attacking the cartels was to invite the Grim Reaper into your home, where you and your family lived.